I can't tell you how long it's been that I have not seen a U.S. men's national team that is intense, that fights, that claws, that doesn't give up a single play. That's what I saw yesterday. You can say what you want about Uruguay. You can say what you want about the Darwin Nunez of the world not being there. But what I saw last night, what I've been seeing this window, I've not seen in quite some time.
Soccer's coming home. And yes, after fending off a roughhousing Paraguay, the US last night faced down Uruguay in the final game of 2025. A truly experimental team, experiment me up, delivered a redemptive obliteration. This happened. USA 5, Uruguay 1. First time the US has scored 5 goals against a CONMEBOL nation or a top 30 team ever. The vibes, they're at 11. As at A Ballrogger wrote in our MIB Discord, don't play up to CONMEBOL, bring them down to CONCACAF. But with so many of our biggest players missing, what does it all mean? To answer that question, examine the magic, the joy, God, we needed this, and the underlying lessons of the window. It's magical to welcome back from ESPN and on our own Vamos network, former US men's national team striker turned black belt broadcaster. It's Mr. Herc Gomez.
Black belt broadcaster. I don't know about that because trying to analyze this game, it's going to bring me down a few belts, a few notches, if you will. How you doing, Raj?
I am confused but full of wonder. So let me ask the simple question first. Should they just give us the World Cup now? Is there even a point in playing the tournament, Herc?
I think a CONCACAF nation scores 5 goals on a CONMEBOL nation and an ex-World Cup winner, albeit whenever it was, automatic, you get the trophy. I think that's in the bylaw.
Yeah, 1934. Was that not the last time that Uruguay won the World? I love that stat. Like the first time we ever hung 5 on a World Cup winner. I'm sure the 1934 team are just like reeling in
very
pain.
Underrated team. Very underrated team.
By the way, we got into the semi-finals in 1930 when they also were.
That's right.
Don't talk about that enough in this nation. But before we get into it, I want to give huge thanks to Bank of America, the official bank of US Soccer, and FIFA World Cup 2026 for supporting the Men in Blazers Media Network. Discover what's possible in sports and in life. What would you like the power to do? I would like the power to get the United States men into the World Cup quarterfinals. But let me not get ahead of myself. Let's go back to the big one. I want to go back before kickoff, if you can, unwind what our eyes did witness. That was some starting lineup for Poch. 9 changes from the Paraguay team. I think it was just Matt Freese in goal and Serginho Dest carried over. Be honest, Herc. When you saw this deeply inexperienced team sheet with Mark McKenzie captain, John Tolkien, my friend Diego Luna, Austin Trusty back, Timmy Tillman in the Tillman role, this was not even a B team, really. It was like a B/C team.
Yeah, it's funny because I did the Discord yesterday for Men in Blazers, and I was answering some questions. Somebody asked me, Herc, what's the score going to be versus Uruguay? And I saw them play against Mexico, and I was like, woof. They looked rough against Mexico. I think the U.S. is going to drop 3 on them. I think 3-1. And then 45 minutes before kickoff, I look on, social media, and I see the lineup, and I said, wow, 9 changes. 9 changes. And I thought to myself, what was one of the last times they did 9 changes and things didn't go well? Well, it was Switzerland. It was Turkey, Switzerland, 9 changes, and I said, wow, this is interesting. This is interesting. I thought the idea was now to gain familiarity with one another, to build a base in 11. And I have to be honest, I didn't think things were going to go well. I was proven wrong, Raj. Very wrong.
I mean, this is what I'm trying to unlayer. This whole thing, I'll be candid, is magical and confusing. And there's 2 teams on the field. We do need to acknowledge Uruguay. You saw them play against Mexico, a team, let's say, in transition. They're very different to the Uruguay of our imagination, the Uruguay of the Copa. They're in a moment of transition themselves. I think in 2025, they've just been Peru and Venezuela, both not in the World Cup, and then the 2 friendlies in October, the mighty twin powers of Dominican Republic and Uzbekistan. Marcelo Bielsa, a legend, but he's currently trying to push every single lever, every button, desperately to find any kind of cohesion, and is under fire himself. Honestly, I watched the team, and we'll talk about it. Last night it looked like they're giving up on the manager, but as a symbol, they've used 4 different goalkeepers in the last 4 games. They were without Federico Valverde, who is genuinely their brain. I mean, you could go on with that list, but it's still a Bielsa team, still Uruguay. And it was an open game from the off, 16 minutes, incredible this. Free kick, acute angle on the edge of the area. Sebastian Berhalter, 1-2 with Dest to improve his angle. But the finish, Herc, was technically incredible. 16 months ago, Greg Berhalter's last game was the Copa disaster against Uruguay. Was this proof that revenge is the greatest human motivator?
I don't know about revenge, but it is proof about taking advantage of your opportunities. And Sebastian Berhalter is one of many who have taken advantage of the opportunities that have been afforded to him by Mauricio Pochettino and this coaching staff. Listen, Raj, how long have we been here watching, analyzing the U.S. men's national team and seeing corner kicks that don't clear the first post, seeing free kicks that go awry, never being a danger really on a set piece for a team that has a lot of stature, a lot of size, and a lot of players that are very good at getting on the end of things. Now you have a player, and we can debate what his role will be if and when the World Cup comes, that is very good at set pieces, that is not only a good servable piece in a set piece, but a dangerous asset in front of goal like Sebastian Berhalter. The strike was exquisite. Technically, it is very difficult to get around and not just blow it over the crossbar. He wrapped around very nicely, and he put it side netting, almost upper V. That's a hell of a ball. The goalkeeper's going to have a lot of problems there. I don't care who you are. That's a very dangerous, clearly good set piece.
Must have felt amazing for him. And within 5 minutes, it would be 2. Set piece FC again. First goal, the free kick. Second, the set piece too. This is training. That's what I thought about these 2 goals. I mean, this is being drilled together as a collective over and over. It was Berhalter again floating in the deep, stunning cross with curl and arc and venom. By the way, you said it, such a refreshing upgrade on the set piece, which had been almost a flaw of this team. Christian Pulisic taking them. I don't think it's the most clinical part of his international game. This was beautiful. Alex Freeman, first goal for him in an international jersey. Another incredible finish. That header back across the keeper, so intelligent. Third set piece goal this window, huh?
Third set piece goal this window. The U.S. men's national team has some size. Alex Freeman, Tim Ream, Miles Robinson, Fowler and Balogun get on the end of him, Haji Wright, Tanner Tessman. I mean, they have some real size to them. Weston McKinney, even guys like Christian Roldan have been proven goal scorers off set pieces with their head. You could put player you want there, and we could have a conversation about who starts, who doesn't. But what I'm trying to say here is you have real lethal pieces when it comes to set pieces. And now Alex Freeman's getting on the end of things. He played as a center back last night, by the way. He played as a center back, a third center back behind Serginho Dest. And I'm going to tell you something. That partnership may be here to stay. Remember, I just said that. Remember, I think we're going to see a lot more of that partnership.
Who are you dropping?
Well, there's nobody who's actually won that position. Miles Robinson was the guy who was playing there. I think we may see a Tim Ream, Chris Richards, Alex Freeman 3-back line partnership.
You glimpsed the future, but going back to the past, because this was an exclamation point moment for this young Poch side. The energy, the belief, you could see it flowing, crackling through the entire side. Diego Luna suddenly flinging in track-back tackles. John Tolkien just swaggering around, flicking the ball in the air like Brazil 1970 Tolkien. Poch has been talking a lot about mentality, hunger, competitive desire. You've been on teams that have that, Herc. When it crackles across the culture, it's infectious, right? Was that what we were seeing last night?
Yeah, absolutely. When a coach empowers a player, gives confidence to a player, well, that ceiling is all of a sudden a little higher. Alex Freeman was playing as a third center back and weaved his way like Prime Vinny Jr. and put Ronald Araujo on skates. Barcelona center back. A player that not too long ago was estimated value of $100 million. He's gone out the window. You know, they're going to sell him. Put him on skates, made him look amateurish, and scores a golazo. That's confidence, and that's infectious. Now, the rest of that on the field, I can't tell you how long it's been that I've not seen a U.S. men's national team that is intense, that fights, that claws, that doesn't give up a single play, that is a tough team to play against. That's what I saw yesterday. You can say what you want about Uruguay. You can say what you want about the Valverdes of the world not being there, the Darwin Nunez of the world not being there. Whatever you want, that is their problem. But what I saw last night, what I've been seeing this window, and for the last 2 windows, I want to say, I've not seen in quite some time.
Well, like Uruguayan backline, I do want to hit this, though. It was wide open. It was bedraggled. This was the team that conceded, I think, just once in the last 6 games. Suddenly they're down 2-0 inside the first 21 minutes. What was shocking to me about last night, because there are 2 teams on this field, Uruguay had zero resolve. They played like they were on vacation. Mid-table Premier League team, putting on their flip-flops, you know. Was that something we did? Or was the quality of their performance just dead inside?
Yeah, Uruguay were poor. They were poor, but the U.S. men's national team put them in those poor positions and then capitalized. How many times have we seen U.S. men's national team of old not have that killer instinct, not know how to put their foot on the pedal or on the throat, if you will, here? They did that. They were very good in clinical moments, and they used that energy and fight to really make Uruguay look more dead than they actually were.
I mean, Uruguay were sloppy AF, couldn't connect a pass suddenly. They seemed incapable of maintaining possession. There was the thunderous shot off the crossbar they had, but then on half an hour, Timmy Tillman, crunching tackle. Huge respect. You've already talked about it. Freeman exchange passes with Trusty, dancing feet, deflection, stunning football. You said confident football. In that moment, I was wondering, if you were Weston McKennie, watching along at home, what do you think you feel?
Well, if I'm Weston McKennie, if I'm a lot of players being at home, a lot of players who maybe feel important in this national team because of past events or past equity, I'm feeling a bit uneasy. I'm feeling good about what I'm seeing because this is my team, but I'm starting to think about myself. I'm starting to think, they're playing pretty good without me. It's an easy feeling right now. I don't feel too good.
Yeah, I mean, for Poch, I tell you, he was feeling good. This must have felt unbelievable. Bielsa mentored him as a footballer and as a manager. This must have felt amazing. Bielsa sitting on his chest, simmering with anger. Everything felt like it was going right. We had Mark McKenzie delivering big hits, Matt Freese clearing crosses. Jurgen Klinsmann won some friendlies. He had first wins for the US in Germany, in Italy, and the Netherlands. But if you actually watch them, they were often against C teams. You know, stolen, scrappy goals in moments. This was utterly dominant football. It was like seeing Sunderland smite all comers and just rise to the top of the Premier League, Herc.
It was good football. It wasn't just scrappiness. It wasn't just you sat back and you held on for dear life. You really made Uruguay pay for their mistakes, and you put them in those mistakes. You pressed them at the right moments. You took advantage of set pieces. You had individual flair. The U.S. men's national team were an exciting team to watch. They were actually an enjoyable team to watch. And it's been quite some time, Raj, quite some time since we've said this.
Yeah, I mean, there was more. Trusty chipping to Tolkien. Ball worked ultimately to Diego Luna. Fine, calm side foot finish through bodies. 4 goals in the first half against Uruguay. All 4 by MLS players. All 4 under players who've been under fan scrutiny. And what was fascinating was the cameras cut to Poch on the sideline after Diego Luna scored. And he wasn't celebrating. He looked bloody furious.
Yeah, I think that's a competitor in him. And I'm sure, Raj, and you know this very much, that Marcelo Bielsa had something to do with that. Anytime you play against a team or somebody that means something to you, you want to prove something. You want to show them in a thankful, respectful manner that you've learned from them, that you are better because of them. I saw this with Mauricio Pochettino, which is why I think Mauricio Pochettino on the night was so emotional.
4-0. By the way, the most dangerous lead in football. The Arrasqueta overhead kick, really one small blemish on the night. I mean, you've already mentioned this. You think Matt Freese will want that goal back?
Absolutely. They're just a letter of the law for goalkeepers. If you come out, regardless if you shouldn't have come out, if you come out, you got to get it. And when you don't get it, you put your team in a compromising position. Now, there's another error. It's the ball's not cleared right back into the area, and then it's a wonder goal. But you can't do that in World Cup qualifying, in World Cups. You can't do that in important matches because I know it's 4-1. I understand. But that last goal for a team gives them belief. Right before half, it gives them belief. And what I enjoyed about this is I listened to Mauricio Pochettino at the presser, And he said at halftime, he told his team that he wasn't happy about the goal, but that he wanted them to go out there and prove something, win the second half, which I thought was very intelligent. Oftentimes there's a lull and you're sitting with 4 goals and the team's like, we're winning by 4. And then they allow the other team to come back, maybe 2-3 goals. They still win the game, but they lose the half. He said, I just want you to win the second half, which made them go out there and fight, which made them go out there and be intelligent, which made them go out there and want more. They did that.
Yeah, they won the second half with another lovely moment. Fine fluted ball from Gio Reyna to double T, Tanner Tessman. I think both men have been on the field for less than 10 minutes. 5-1, Dreamland. I will say how Tessman was allowed the header from there, I don't know. But who cares? This was magic. And I do need a quick blast on Gio Reyna. Back, a goal, 2 assists. Can I get a quick blast on his performance? Is he now a fixture?
I believe he's a fixture. I've always believed he was a fixture, just on ceiling and talent alone. And I think Mauricio Pochettino understands this because at the beginning of the camp, when they asked if he was contradicting himself, and I'm okay with this contradiction, it is a contradiction, but I'm okay with it. He mentioned how special of a player Gio Reyna is. And there are players in the U.S. men's national team who are special, who maybe at the club level have not performed, but when they come to the U.S., always perform. We look at Christian Pulisic during his Chelsea years when he wasn't playing. He would use the U.S. men's national team as a refresher. I believe this is the case with Giovanni Reyna, and I think Mauricio Pochettino sees the value there.
What a win. Best result, best US performance of Mauricio Pochettino's era. Done without Pulisic, without Tyler Adams, without Chris Richards, no Tim Weah, so on, so on, so on. And the question is, what does it mean, big picture? I want to break this down. But big picture, I mean, this was a statistical aberration. Paul Carr tweeted 5 goals off a 0.74 expected goals. That's amazing. The other thing, Herc, as we've always said on this show, don't read too much into friendlies. We US fans, we've got nothing but a steady diet of friendlies until the World Cup. So what should we allow ourselves to read into this and what should we not?
Well, first of all, bask in the glory. Take the victory lap. You deserve it. You enjoy it. It's not every day that...
Do you ever deserve it?
It's not every day that a CONCACAF team, that the U.S. men's national team, drops a manita, drops 5, a hand, on a team like Uruguay, on a World Cup contender, on a team with so much rich footballing history, a team that is known for being intense. And if you would have told me that the U.S. men's national team would have scored more than 2 goals and won, I would have said there's probably about 3 red cards for Uruguay. Not that that would be the case of why they won, but there would be a reaction, an emotional reaction from Uruguay. They just stepped on the throat and they crushed Uruguay. So enjoy this moment. It's a marquee win for Mauricio Pochettino, and I would dare say, for this group of players that's been around since the World Cup qualification to Russia fiasco. What came of that, these U.S. men's national team players that were gifted opportunities, they've never won a game like this. Their marquee win was Mexico. The game that they said, look, this is what we did, was a 0-0 win versus England. That was their claim to fame. This is the biggest win in these players' tenure, in the era of these players. And Mauricio Pochettino is responsible for that.
So, a lot of incoming. And I want to read some fans' comments on last night as they lived it. Pulled a couple from our Discord. At Pas Chico said, as a fan, but not a super fan, how is it realistic to compare what happened tonight against the first World Cup game, since more than 50% of the players will be different? At Swaro4 framed it differently. This is great framing. It's our B team, now our A team. I've already hit her. The list of players who were not starting is enormous. Pulisic, Richards, Tyler, Weston McKennie, Balogun, Chris Richards, even Tim Ream. Gio Reyna did not start. How do you understand it? Are there 1 or 2 players who we think are B team, Herc, but are now actually A team?
Yeah, we're living in the upside down. I agree with you. I 100%. I started asking myself, well, I know who I would consider the A team. I know who I think the prime players are. But are those the players that Mauricio Pochettino considers the prime players, the A team? So then I went and I looked up the minutes. I looked up the minutes of players under Mauricio Pochettino in the plus 20 games he's been with the U.S. men's national team. And guess what? Tim Ream, Matt Freese, Max Arfston, Chris Richards, Alex Freeman, Diego Luna, Malik Tillman, Patrick Ajiman, Mark McKenzie, Sebastian Berhalter, and then we get into a regular like Tyler Adams. Then we get into the Christian Pulisic's, the Tanner Tessmans, the Miles Robinsons, the Brendan Aaronsons, the Timothy Weahs, the Weston McKinneys. Then we get into those, the Fowler and Ballagans. That's when we get into those in the lower half. So maybe what we would consider the A team is not what Poch thinks is the A team.
Yeah, I mean, this is the great unknown as we face this team. Over 70 players called up in the Pochettino area, still shuffling through options, still 5 games till World Cup squad announced. We don't know what he's looking for, and we don't know what that means for players we think are definite gimmies. Again, I'll say like Weston McKennie, for different reasons. Anthony Robinson, we've not seen him, and he's nowhere near the top of the minutes chart for you in terms of minutes played. I mean, players who are near and dear to our heart, who we see as established fixtures for so many different reasons. At what point do they have question marks? I mean, I was fascinated by Pochettino post-game. That rant he went on, I don't want to start negative, but when he was asked about regular players, he said, what does that mean? It's so disrespectful. Went on to talk about how the squad, the pool is what's important. This is the United States national team, he asked when asked about players missing. Essentially, what we do know, the one thing we know is this starting 11 is wide open for the 2026 World Cup squad. None of us know anything. We're 204 days away from kick-off. It is utterly wide open. Do you think even Herc has a sense of who his squad is? 26 players. How many do you think he actually knows?
I think he knows a good amount of them. I think he knows at least 8 of the starting 11. I really feel that. I really do believe that.
You think?
And yeah, I do. I do, because he's proven it in the call-ups. He's proven it in the minutes he's afforded these players. I think he knows exactly who he wants to trust. I really do.
Is Alex Freeman one of your starting 11? Is Berhalter? Is Diego? I mean, blow my mind.
I think we're going to see a heavy dose of Alex Freeman at the World Cup. I think we're going to see a more than expected amount of time for a Max Arfston. What role that would be for Max Arfston is still unclear, but I think you're going to see him feature a lot. I think you're going to see the likes of a Sebastian Berhalter more than you would have thought. I really do. And Matt Fries, that boat is sailed. He's decided he's the number one, and I need him to get all the minutes as possible to feel comfortable in his own skin. He's there. That's gone. Tim Ream, we thought Tim Ream was going to retire the day after 2022. You're going to see Tim Ream captaining the World Cup team for the U.S. men's national team. There's going to be a heavy dose of some players that maybe most fans aren't ready for. And this rant that Mauricio Pochettino went on, I think there's a lost in translation moment, because when Doug McIntyre says regulars and when Paul Tenorio doubles down and says regulars, when they're trying to toss a layup to Mauricio Pochettino to talk about how deep this team is, to talk about how there are no secure positions, he kind of gets offended. And I think because in Spanish, when you say jugador regular, you're saying it's an average player. That's what he's thinking. And that's why he's saying it's disrespectful. I think he's shown us who he trusts in these call-ups. And I think he's made it clear that nobody is secure. I think there are a few secure spots.
I think that's fascinating. It's a lost in translation moment. I actually took it that he's trying to send a message to the players themselves who consider themselves to be regulars.
Oh, I agree. I agree. But the whole, this is so disrespectful. I think he's using the word regular as fair. You would in that's Spanish as average.
Because I was also fascinated by essentially another rant the day before the game that also I didn't fully understand, because it was in Poch English and delivered with real energy. And when he does that, it's hard to fully, get the detailed grasp of what he's saying. But I love it because he was trying to talk about what he's trying to inculcate. He talked about how the problem is the mindset. We've changed it. If you come here and you're on holidays, if you come here and worry about being injured. Essentially, he said that was the problem. Basically, he was saying that the coaches didn't have a serious culture around the team. It was a vacation for the players. It wasn't serious. It wasn't a tough environment. And it's taken this long to change it and change the identity, Herc. I mean, it feels to me right now, the only given, I don't think we know anything on the outside about that 26, and definitely not the starting 11. The one star of the team right now is Mauricio Pochettino.
Yeah, I'm going to give Mauricio Pochettino his flowers because the only thing I know, we could sit here and we could debate and throw darts at the players who are going to start, but the only thing I know is who's going to be in that starting 11 is going to represent you the way you want to be represented. The fight, the spirit, the attitude, the mentality. That's the only thing I know because that's what he's told us, and that's what I've seen reflected on the field for the last 5-6 games. Even the game they lost, they were outmatched, South Korea, but you saw some fight. And since then, it's been fight. It's been passion. It's been mentality. So I can't sit here and say, I know the definite 11. I can sit here and say, I know what this team is about tactically and mentally.
So let's close by looking at this journey, this roller coaster year, Herc. You know, the darkness of the CONCACAF Nations League in March, which saw us soil ourselves back to back against Panama and Canada. And then the deeply humiliating pair of friendlies where we were outgunned, outclassed against Turkey A and Switzerland. The Gold Cup, which felt like a Poch reboot with a inexperienced raw squad. It felt that was our B string. But he stayed with many of them. We don't know what is A, what is B, what is up, what is down right now. That 2-0 defeat to South Korea, we were outplayed again, as you mentioned. But we're now in the midst of a 5-match unbeaten streak, all friendlies. That's what we have. Japan 11, Australia, Paraguay, now Uruguay, all of whom are in the World Cup. So where are we, Herc, right now?
I want to be very careful. Take the victory lap, enjoy the moment, bask in it, because it's not every day you drop 5 on a team like Uruguay. Because those World Cup teams that have already qualified that we just mentioned, a lot of them were using alternate lineups. And I'm sure many here could say, well, so is the U.S. I don't know if that was an alternate lineup for the U.S. anymore. What I do know is those teams were more interested in looking at players because they already qualified. They went through their moments of already finding their 11, and they're looking for pieces. Mauricio Pochettino is looking for his 11 against those teams. Take it with a grain of salt. Be very happy. I like what I've seen. But let's not fall into the trap of thinking, this is it, we are ready.
Yeah, I mean, I loved last night. I really did. It was a beautiful emotion. We have suffered together. And to saw was a true joy. We kind of lived the football and the result that so many of us dream about, not as a one-off or an aberration, but just like, this is who we are now. It was a glimpse of that. I'll be honest, I've kind of given up right now trying to work out who we are, because for me, the deviation on this team is almost impossible to handicap, to understand, to pass. It's partially the context. It's really important to note these are friendlies. We beat Japan. It was a Japan 11. It wasn't the Japan 11. We beat Paraguay. We beat Uruguay. That felt great. We don't know if it was their first 11. We don't know if it was our first 11. We don't still quite understand Poch's habit of letting what we thought were major players stay with their clubs. We don't know if this team is our real thing. It's almost like in the same way as like Impossible Foods and Beyond Meat. You know, you don't really know if they're real burgers. We don't know how to judge it. We don't have the ability. But last night was unbelievably fun. And there is one challenge. You mentioned it already up top, Herc, and I want to come back to it and then tie this together a little bit. There is one challenge in all of this. How does this, whatever it is, eventual first team squad get chemistry, get reps? Players don't just start playing well together. You know, a back line, centre backs, speak to a goalkeeper and the centre backs. Tim Howard would always say, I need chemistry. I need chemistry to reps. We need to go. We need to go again. We need to learn, communicate. The midfield too. And there's been so much experimenting, so much auditioning, if we're being honest. So many new faces shuffling in and out. On one level, international teams are always all-star affairs, just kind of crashing in, very little practice, go. But this has to be now, with so few games until the World Cup. It's like 5 until the squad's announced. It's got to be the most all-starry and fleeting of American teams before a World Cup. Is that a concern, or are we just like in Poch we trust?
Well, it's always a concern, Raj, because chemistry is vital in a tournament play. We saw the first game of the window, Paraguay, and their goal, very good, well-taken goal, but there's a lack of understanding and chemistry, familiarity with one another in Serginho Dest and Joe Scally, and that ball's played Joe Scally has to go to the touchline. He's pulled out of position as a center back, a third center back. And then Miguel Almiron has his way with him, friend of the Vamos podcast, has his way with them, puts the ball across the face of goal, and it's a goal. It's a goal. So you need that familiarity, but we're way past that. We've crossed that bridge. The next time you see the U.S. men's national team is going to be in March. It's going to be in March. And come March, you're hoping players are fit. You're hoping those players who had good moments are still in a good moment. Had a conversation that we're going to listen to with Steve Cherundolo on Vamos this week, and I asked him about the national team, and Steve Cherundolo said, listen, the national team is not for player development. It's for showcasing players. What players will be showcased at the time they're in their prime, that exact moment? So come March, I don't know what this team's going to look like, and that's going to be the last camp. Because the next time you see them will be June for a send-off, and then it's the World Cup. Literally, June and days, a send-off, and days later, the World Cup starts, Raj. So I think we're past that. I really do. I think now it's who's in their best moment of the players we've seen already under Mauricio Pochettino. That's going to be the team.
God bless. John Tolkien starting against Cape Verde in the World Cup. I am so ready for that. I do have to acknowledge one slightly down theme of the year, if we're doing like a big review, it's just a lack of noise. The small crowds. There was a brutal piece in The Athletic this week, headline, the US men's national team is making progress. The fans it hoped to attract haven't noticed. The article was, it was 10 months ago that US Soccer talked about how they wanted to lead into the World Cup. It's got a quote from JT Batson, US Soccer's CEO. It said, we want to play in the biggest stadiums possible, in front of the most people possible. Our national team events should be huge events. They should be parties. They should be celebrations of soccer. They should be something that everybody looks forward to. This is the Athletic writing. It hasn't happened, at least not yet. The US men's national team's second to last game of 2025 against Paraguay failed to fill the 18,000-seat Subaru Park. Despite the best efforts of thousands of exuberant Paraguay fans, which is a brutal line. Herc, that lack of interest, that's just a reality now until the World Cup.
Because of apathy with this team, because of what the team has done to deserve that attention, because of placement of the games. Like, I'm in the Northeast right now. I don't want to go outside in the cold. Subaru Park, drive out, find this stadium, the ticket prices. I think fans in conjunction have a lot to say. Hey, I don't want to do this right now because of where the game is played, how much the ticket price is, because of the lack of interest from these players in the past, because of the lack of results, et cetera, et cetera. But I do feel that's going to change come World Cup time because it's the World Cup. Because it's America. And anytime the U.S. plays in an international competition and they can show good things and make a run, all of America's behind them.
We love a circus, don't we?
We do.
We love a circus.
It's going to be a good circus. It's going to be a good circus. But I really feel they'll come out and support. You got to give the American fan a reason to support you. They're not going to just follow you blindly. That's not going to be the case here.
I hope last night ultimately was that foothold, that change, that reason to believe, or at least we proved ourselves to ourselves, and that is something I want to give huge thanks to Bank of America, official bank of US Soccer, and the FIFA World Cup 2026 for supporting the Men in Blazers Media Network. Discover what's possible in sports and in life. What would you like the power to do? I'd like the power to predict the future, Herc, which is the perfect segue for crazy prediction time. Herc, right now, 204 days away from the World Cup. How are we going to do? Put us out of our misery. What do you sense?
I'm predicting the future, Raj. Okay, U.S. in pot 1, Japan in pot 2, Tunisia, New Zealand, the group. The U.S. finishes first, and they are going to play Colombia in the next round. And after they play Colombia in the next round, they're going to play France. Quarterfinals. That's, I think, where they get to. France in the quarterfinals.
Coincidentally, on July the 4th in Philadelphia. Go on.
There's so much of me that wants to say the U.S. goes further. But I think, given who they're going to face. I think that's where the road ends.
By the way, God bless. I'd love it. I'd love that. But I've got a feeling we're going to be in Cape Verde's group. I just got a feeling that's how it's going to work. I can see Scotland being in there with us too. I have no doubt we should make the quarterfinals. That's what we want. I would love it. By the way, this is my dream that Berhalter starts in that game against Germany, and Torsten Fring's son starts against plays against the United States, and Sebastian Berhalter finishes through Torsten Frings' son's hands and delivers glory. I would just love to see a US team win a serious knockout game, get into the quarterfinals. We have the talent, we have the dream, make it real. God bless. That's my wish for 2026, Herc.
I'll tell you what, Raj. If the U.S. men's national team, I think they'll get out of the group. We don't know what the draw is yet. That's going to be very important. But I think right now, given their pot one and the way that this has been seeded, they're going to get out of their group. Best third places, get out of their group. We've seen the U17 World Cup with 48 teams, and there are teams with one win who get out of the group due to fair play. They're going to get out of the group. I know that. And if they can make a run, win a post-group phase game, the world is going to be watching. America will be watching in the United States. I think it could be something very special.
God bless. Let's start smelting the John Tolkien statues right now, America, to 2026. No sleep to MetLife. Soccer's coming home. Thanks, Herc.
Let's just give John Tolkien a mullet in that statue and I'm good.
God bless. Big love. Courage.